Back at it again for another early morning drive to university. Alright, here goes. I don't know, I don't really have much to talk about today. So I thought maybe I could just tell a story. So this story is going to be about one of my classmates that I've known since middle school. And for the sake of the story, I'm going to call her Jessica. So, I've known Jessica since 6th grade. We were in the same social studies class, and we ended up staying next to each other. My first initial impression of her, when I met her, was that she was a sweet girl. I mean, she wasn't the best looking, but one of the biggest issues she had was she lacked severely in hygiene. I remember when she walked into the class and when she sat next to me, I remember she just smelled horrible. And her teeth, they looked as though they haven't been brushed in ages. Yeah, not a good look. So anyways, overall, I didn't have any issues with Jessica. She was nice to me, and I was nice to her. Just like normal people. But that wasn't the case for the rest of my classmates. I remember, it started small, and I didn't understand what was going on until like halfway through my first semester in 6th grade. So anyways, let's see. So I think the first thing that I remember happening was when I sat next to Jessica in social studies class in 6th grade, and one of my classmates that sat in the row in front of me, he turned back to look at me, and he was just like, "Hey man, I kind of feel bad for you." And he was basically talking about like, "Oh, like I feel bad for you for having to sit next to Jessica, bro. He stinks, she stinks," and that was like the first thing. But back then, I didn't understand why he was saying that. So it was just like, oh, yeah, I guess I feel bad too. So anyways, I do remember another thing a little while after that, and I mean, it was kind of what people did what everyone would do in general. Like, I remember whenever Jessica opened her mouth, like, someone would make some nasty remarks about her, like, "Oh, shut up, Jessica, I hate you, Jessica, you're so annoying, Jessica, I hate your voice, I hate it," or, I don't know, something along the lines of that. Feeling bad about it too, because you know what, it wasn't just when she opened her mouth. I mean, people just hated her for her existence in general. Like throughout her entire, like throughout all her time in school, I don't know if it was the same when she was in elementary school, but from the first time I met her in 6th grade all the way up until high school, she was always an outcast. But in middle school, she was so much of an outcast that like not even the other outcasts would accept her. Like, she was just her own, I guess, species of outcast. And it's really sad because I remember, like, she would always sit alone at lunch, or with one other person who was nice enough to be her friend. And you know what? Like, it was so bad that, like, I remember there was one day where the lunch table that I usually sat at ended up being full. And so I ended up having to find somewhere else to sit for lunch. And I looked around and I was just like, I don't think anybody wants to sit with me here or there. So I just decided to just resort to sitting at Jessica's lunch table. And I said hello to her. I said I was being nice to her. But then the next thing you know, like, one of my classmates, he grabs me by the arm and pulls me away from the lunch table, and he was just like, "Hey man, come sit with us. Come sit with us. We got you. We got your back." And so I just sat with them. I didn't even question it. But like, just remembering that and looking at it now as an adult, I just think to myself, dang, imagine being so much of an outcast that not only do the other outcasts not accept you, but like everyone is just doing their best to just stay away from you, even going as far as to saving their other classmates and whatnot and keeping them away from you. Like, just like, imagine, like, man, that's just terrible. Oh my gosh. But yeah, you know, she always sat at her own lunch table all by herself or with somebody else. Like, it's so sad because the most people she's ever had at her lunch table is probably one. And I do feel bad. But anyways, what else do I remember? Oh yeah, so I don't know. I feel like I think I need to explain this a little more. So if you've ever watched the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, you know, you would remember that there's this one antagonist, and it was a piece of cheese that was just sitting on the basketball court. It was like a moldy piece of cheese that sat on the basketball court. And in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, the kids would make a whole game that surrounded that piece of cheese. It's basically, if you touch the cheese, you had the cheese touch. Or I guess cooties. I mean, I just call it cooties just as the overall name for games like this. But yeah, if you touch the cheese, you had the cheese touch, and everyone would want to stay away from you. Like, you would instantly become an outcast. So anyways, imagine playing that game, except you're not using an inanimate object. You're playing the game using a person. Alright? That was the case for Jessica. Except of course nobody really touched her or anything. I don't think anyone did, at least. But anyways, yeah, I remember like one day I saw some kids. I think it was at this one table, and I remember some of my classmates that sat there. They were like, "Oh, you get the Jessica touch. You get the Jessica touch." And they were just passing it around. I was just like, "Oh no." Let's see. It was just so bad. But man, like, that's just horrible. divorced, I don't know. I would feel horrible if I was in that position. I don't know how Jessica managed to withstand all that. I don't think she was able to be honest. But yeah, that was a thing. We played the Jessica touch. It was either in the classroom, during lunch, recess, unsurprisingly, but that doesn't count. Everyone plays games in recess. What else do I remember? But dang, man, it was horrible. Like, my entire class as a whole hated Jessica just for her existence, and we did all this. But wait, it doesn't end there, okay? So, another thing I remember about Jessica was her first boyfriend in middle school. So again, we're still in 6th grade. We haven't gone anywhere just yet. But I remember, I just remember it was this one kid. He recently moved to our middle. He switched schools and he decided to join the middle school that I went to. And I think the first person he met was Jessica, and after a while they just started, they became a couple, quote unquote a couple. I don't know. I don't think middle school relationships count. That's just me. I'm not gonna go any further into that. It's just my opinion. But anyways, so yeah, people would already talk about that kid. I remember seeing them hold hands, but already, there was already gossip being thrown around about that kid, and eventually people, and what's even sad is that there were people trying to tell him oh, break up with Jessica, she's nasty and she stinks, blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, he ended up listening to them. So they broke up. Well, I don't know. I think the reason they broke up was because that kid ended up moving schools again for some reason. Because I only saw him for a couple months in middle school. I think it was 1 or 2 months, and then all of a sudden I just never saw him again. I don't know. But anyways, what else do I remember? That's about it. Overall, kids back then just hated her for her existence. If she ever opened her mouth, there would be someone making nasty remarks about her. I remember some kid was gossiping to me, telling me about how she had armpit hair and whatnot. And overall, kids would always gossip to me about stuff. I was just, if I sat next to them and they didn't have anyone else, I was their default option. I'll just gossip to you. I know you won't say anything, because I wouldn't. And as a matter of fact, I forgot the majority of gossip that I've been told, because I never really shared it that much. Nor do I really care. As an adult, a lot of the stuff that I do remember about people gossiping, I guess, yeah, I have a good laugh about it from time to time. Oh, look, you used to do that as a kid. That's funny. Something like that, but I don't really think about it as much. What else do I remember? know there's. I think that was about it for 6th grade. All I know is that throughout my time in middle school, as I got older, I know the Jessica Touch game just died out. I know in 7th grade it almost was just non-existent, or there were just hardly anyone was playing it. But that was kind of the only thing that changed throughout middle school. Other than that, people still hated Jessica just because of her existence. But that was it. What else there? I don't remember much in 7th grade. Aside from Jessica being in the same English class that I was in, that's about it. Don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember much. I did remember one of my friends just like making fun of Jessica because he thought it was entertaining. But I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know, that's not much. So let's fast forward to 8th grade. So, again, nothing much changed about Jessica in 8th grade. She's still an outcast. She still sat alone during lunch. But I think one significant moment that I remember, it's one of my favorite, and I'll admit I did think it was funny, but I remember 8th grade, Jessica and I had the same math class once again. But there was just never a year where I just didn't have a class with Jessica. But anyways, so yeah, same math class. I remember, I think we were taking a test, and I remember Jessica was sitting in an island, or I guess she was sitting on a desk all by herself in the front of the class, and I was sitting with like two other classmates in a row behind her. And I remember the three of us I think we were finished with our tests, if I remember correctly, and the teacher was and I think around this time the teacher was collecting our tests. And I remember when he collected our tests and when he was finished, he kind of looked at Jessica, and then he looked at us with like a disapproving face, and like making a little gesture that like, man, she stinks. And everyone was kind of just smiling, and I guess some kids kind of, I don't know, chuckled a little bit. I don't know a good word for when you're trying to laugh quietly or something like that. But anyways, yeah, I remember that. You know what else I remember? Oh my gosh, man. So I know in 8th grade I would usually eat PB&Js for lunch. And I remember one day there was an incident with Jessica where she apparently crapped her pants. And everyone was talking about it. Like, man, it was just terrible. Like, you looked at the seat and it was brown. Alright, there was like some brown spots on the seat where the crap was just leaking out of. And I know and I know the other kids at my lunch table, they were talking about it, and then one of them pointed out my sandwiches. And like, dude, that's disgusting. Dude, you're eating peanut butter sandwiches and you're looking at that? Like, ew. When you eat those peanut butter sandwiches, it's like you're eating her butt cheeks and the poop inside. And let's just say I got grossed out from eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Thanks a lot, guys. That just, honestly, man, that just killed my appetite. That honestly just killed my appetite. Thanks, guys. It took me too long to. Man, you know how many years that took for me to start eating PB&Js again? Yeah, it took me up until like I think senior year. Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm just kidding. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. Just thought I could throw that out there too. That really didn't matter to me at all. It was like, okay, whatever. But that's about it in middle school. I don't remember anything else. Other than, you know, just the whole everybody hates Jessica thing. Anyways, so let's go into high school. So in high school, nothing really changed in high school for Jessica. Apart from the fact that she ended up getting into a friend group. Which is good. I mean, she needed that. You know, it wasn't great seeing her sit alone at lunch. And now it's good that she managed to find some friends. So good on her. But anyways, so I can't really recall much about Jessica, apart from what I've seen and what people have told me back in high school. Because I mean, I was a band kid, and you know, I kind of had this whole idea that band kids just mind their business, blah 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 blah. And well, I just preferred to just mind my own business and just be with my friends and whatnot, like a normal person. But anyways, although I mean, I kind of had my flaws. But anyways, whatever. We're not gonna delve too deep. So, although things turned out better for Jessica in high school, I do remember like noticing that there were a lot of things that, I don't know, just seemed a little concerning about her. I did notice that she had a lot of boyfriends in high school. Like, I remember like every like month and a half or so, like she would just be holding hands with with a different guy, usually another outcast kid. But one of them that I remember like significantly was this biker guy, and he was a senior at the time. So yes, they were a freshman senior couple, and I've seen plenty of those back when I was a freshman in high school. It never really I don't know, it just feels kind of weird. When you get older, that age gap doesn't really matter as much. It's high school, but we're not gonna go too far into that. Sorry, another random tangent. Anyways, so yeah, I remember she went out with this biker guy, and how I knew was because once again Jessica and I ended up having the same math class together freshman year. This was like second semester, and you know, around the time I would usually hang out with my friends, the friends that I hung out with at the time, like in an area across that was like across from the math class. So in my school, you know, you go through the main entrance, right? And you walk a little bit, and you walk far enough to where you're like right in front of the cafeteria doors. But instead of going to the right where the cafeteria doors would usually be, you go left, and then you know, you see the courtyard. On the left side, you see like sort of a little balcony area where you can look down from if you're upstairs. And at the bottom there was just a grassy area, pretty relaxing. And on the right side there was a that was kind of where the outcasts hung out. There was like a sewer grate. There was just one large tree all by itself. And there was just one lonely bench. That was it. Anyway, so I remember Jessica would usually hang out over there. Not well. Actually, no. I remember, like, I think it was like couple minutes before our first class started. I remember seeing Jessica, like I remember her boyfriend walking her to class, and you know, they just did the usual hug and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into details on it. And then she would walk into class. So that's how I knew. And how did I know he was a biker guy? I just remember seeing him riding a bike. You know, my mom picked me up after school, and when we were on our way to, when we were trying to leave the parking lot, I remember seeing him in his bike. Don't remember if Jessica was ever with him any of those times. I mean, probably. I mean, if she had good parents, probably not. Because come on, freshman senior couple is kind of a little suspicious. It's a little sus. Anyways, that happened. But the reason I brought this up is because this will be significant later. Alright, so anyways. So, even freshman year math class, like, nobody liked Jessica. Like, nothing, like, ever since middle school, I mean, the hate train just kept going. Like, if she ever opened her mouth, like, anybody that was within her proximity, as in like maybe like one desk away or something like that, like they would just like make a nasty remark about her, like "shut up" or "oh, I hate you." I don't know, something like that. Same as like in middle school. But anyways, but you know, I remember, like, more to be more specific, like I remember. So in math class, during my second semester of freshman year, I know the teacher would, like before we actually got into our lesson, the teacher would write down some practice problems on the board as sort of like a refresher of what we did like the day before and whatnot. And he would like call on someone to ask him what the answer was. Like someone would raise their hand if they knew the answer, they would try to answer it. What else do I remember? Oh yeah. So anyways, so with that in mind, sorry, I I kind of fell a little asleep. But yeah, with that in mind, you know, having those practice problems to refresh our memory from the day before, like it was pretty cool. But anyway, so I remember like freshman year. I also forgot this other detail, but this was the year where photo math and mathway was like kind of a big thing, and you know, kids were just using it all the time to pass their tests and whatnot. So anyways, I remember Jessica ended up using, I don't know if it was really photo math or mathway, but I remember she used one of the two to solve the problem. So basically, she took a photo of one of the math problems on the board, and she like, I don't know, she just took the answer. And so she raised her hand and she was like, "Oh, this is I have the answer." And she's like 7 or whatever. I don't remember what the answer was. And I remember that, and I was like, okay. And the teacher was got to the point where he was just like, okay, how'd you get your answer? And she was just like, oh, I just figured it out in my head, which was a big mistake. And he was just like, oh, well, okay, well, how'd you get your answer? I want to know your thought process. And she couldn't answer that. She just sat silent like a deer in headlights. And the teacher was just like, yeah, you can't answer because you used photo math, huh? Didn't you? Yeah, alright. You gotta stop doing that. Overall, the teacher was... I remember that teacher was really, really pissed about us using photo math. Or mathway. Like, holy crap. Anyways, so that happened, and a lot of the kids were just making fun of her and like, oh, you're a cheater. They're all just ridiculing her for being a cheater. Like, come on, man. We all know you guys use it too. Don't make fun of her for it. It was just, man. And you know what? And trust me, man, I was also in that situation before where I actually did use photo math. And the teacher asked me the same questions, like, how'd you get your answer? How'd you do this? But see, I was smart, all right? See, I was able to explain myself away. So, but just a little side tangent. I remember I did use photo math, except I was smart. I wrote down, except instead of just writing down the answer and the problem, I wrote down like the entire process. And that was kind of my way of how, that was kind of just how I learned it. But anyways, yeah, I wrote down the entire process, and you know, I remember that, and you know, I was smart enough to like look down at my paper and look at the teacher, to just like try to explain what I did. And you know, I tried to explain it like, oh, well, I did this, I did that, and I don't know how to explain it. He was like, oh, well, that's okay, yeah, good, all right. And man, the other kids, they were like, oh, well, man, it's all right, man. You tried. You gave it your best shot. I got away with it. But anyways, yeah, that was my story. Now let's go back to Jessica. But yeah, that's about it. That's about as much as I can remember. I mean, it is kind of concerning seeing when I saw her like just holding hands with different guys every couple months or so. But yeah, actually no. So let's go back in time a little bit. So let's go back to like my first semester of freshman year. So as I mentioned earlier, I was a band kid, so I ended up doing a whole bunch of marching band stuff. So that involved, like, you know, competitions and football games, which is where I'm going towards. So I don't remember what football game it was, but I do remember seeing Jessica in the stands. You know, I was also in the stands with the rest of the band, and we were playing pep tunes and whatnot. And I remember seeing Jessica. I think she was wearing like a Pikachu hat or something. And I kind of wanted to talk to my friend about it. I was just like, "Hey, you see that girl with the Pikachu hat?" I'm like, "Yeah, I knew her in middle school," and I kind of told him like a short version of what I'm telling now. Except I basically just told him what happened in middle school with her. And my friend immediately dismissed the conversation. He was just like, "Yeah, man, but I don't think we should talk about her." And I asked him, "Oh, well, why?" And he's just like, "Oh, well, she's not a bright person." And I kind of wanted to ask him what he meant by that, but I don't know. I hesitated. So, yeah. Anyways, what else? So, I remember, like, that was basically it for freshman year, honestly. Like, I remember, let's see, fast forward to senior year, and, you know, there was a couple other things I remember around then too. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just really digging into my memory. Whew. So yeah, I do remember, like, yeah, fast forward to senior year. I remember I was in a math class, and I was with a couple of friends in that math class. Two of them I knew in band, and I just remember, like, one day, like, most of the time, like, two guys that I knew from band, they usually talked about work because they worked together in the same fast food place. But I remember one day they were talking about Jessica. Like, they were just talking about, like, "Oh, dude, like, did you hear, or did you see, like, that Jessica's trying to get a job at our fast food place?" And they were just completely disgusted. They were like, "Oh, well, I heard a lot about her." Yeah, and they were just like, "Yeah." Like, they were basically acting like she was, like, some kind of shady person. Which kind of got me confused because, I mean, of course I didn't think of it now, but, like, from freshman year all the way to senior year, a lot of my friends, my peers they were thinking, like, they were just like they just didn't like talking about her, or they just didn't like her in general. And I didn't understand. Up until now, which finally I put all the puzzle pieces together. But anyway, so yeah, I remember that, and then I remember one concert. All right, so little mini story on the side to provide some context. So you normally let's see, my senior year was the year after COVID, and so this was like the year where, like, people were just, you know, dealing with their own personal issues and whatnot. And it was also the year where everybody wanted to kind of just, like, together we're strong, let's build our community spirit, or something along the lines of that. I don't know. But I remember, so I know this was like in the spring. It's like my final semester of high school. And normally in the spring, for our first concert, we would usually have just the same old, the high school band, both freshmen and, upperclassmen level band. And then we would have a middle school honor band, which is basically where all the middle school band kids came together and performed. But my senior year, we decided to do something different. We did a band gala. So basically what we did was we brought not just the middle schools, but also all of the elementary schools. So basically all the elementary and middle school bands, we all brought them, and we all decided to play in one big concert. And in the end, we would all play together as a whole. It was crazy. So anyways, we upperclassmen high schoolers, we were in charge of getting things set up. Yeah, and so yeah, we were out in the football field. We were just putting up chairs and stuff for the concert, and we were all in our suit and ties and whatnot. And when we were close to finished, I was with like a couple of my other friends. To be more specific, the guys that were in the brass quintet at the time. Because yes, I was in a brass quintet, and we were all just like getting ready to perform, and we were like standing on one side of like the chairs. I don't think I need to get into that specific details, but yeah, I remember that, and I remember I saw Jessica just walking by in the football field, and I noticed her first, and then one of my friends saw that I was just making an awkward stare at somebody, and they turned their head to see what I was staring at, and he was just like, "Dude, that's Jessica. What's she doing here?" And I was asking the same question because, oddly enough, even during middle school, Jessica was at almost every concert. It's like she just somehow knew somebody from band, from middle school up until then. But anyways, yeah. We saw Jessica. One of my friends was just like, "No, I don't know why she's even here." And then another one of my friends chimed in, and he was just like, "Oh, well, she's a whore, man. I've heard a lot about her." And that kind of confused me. Like, why are we calling her a whore? Like, what'd she do? But I didn't want to press the situation any further. I just decided to just not say much. And yeah, that's what happened. And that was the last little thing I ever remembered about Jessica in high school. And it was weird. I remember in middle school, 8th grade to be more specific, but she was friends with like one of the 6th graders who was in the 6th grade band at the time. Which was kind of confusing and also a little scary, considering what I know now, if it's true or false. But anyways, let's see. What else? let's fast forward to post high school graduation, or more specifically, my first year of community college. So, I remember I downloaded Instagram my senior year of high school, and I used it all the way up until like my first year of college, and then I just deactivated it before my second year started. But when I had it, I remember, I don't know when it was, but I remember, like, before I even mention it, like, I remember around, like, during my first year at community college and whatnot, I was still kind of in the whole, like, oh, I miss high school. I was still in that, like, little high school mentality and whatnot, which is something that I eventually had to shake off my second year. But anyway, so, yeah, I remember, like, I don't know when it was, but I ran into this account. It was Strawberry social media safety page. And kind of their whole purpose was to just spread awareness about people on social media who were deemed unsafe, predatory, or whatever. Or if they were just a bad person in general. It's raining. But anyways, yeah, I remember that. All I know is that they posted a couple people. Some of them I didn't. I mean, the first few were just people who I didn't even know. But I do remember them posting one guy that I knew. But they posted a lot about not just Jessica, but also her lover. I think I don't know. They were a they them kind of person. But anyways. So let's talk about this. So I remember I ran into this account, and basically a lot of the posts were just people like coming out and just trying to like expose Jessica. Like, oh, she did this, she did that. Oh, she's a predator. She's an 18-year-old going after high schoolers. And I remember seeing all that. I was just thinking, dang, that's terrible. And I do remember a post where the Strawberry page talks about how, like, they try to confront her on social media. There's basically like a screenshot of them in Jessica's DMs, just being like, hey, I heard that you're harassing some of my people. You need to stop doing that. Leave them alone, and blah 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 blah. That kind of stuff. They're just like, oh well, they blocked me, and then they sent and then they posted a screenshot of Jessica just retaliating, like, oh, you guys are assholes. You guys keep saying dumb stuff about me that isn't true. Yeah, you can't even do anything about it to my face. I'm gonna get the cock about whatnot. And overall, but a lot of the comments in there were just you know, were just angry comments towards Jessica. Like, the truth will come out. We're gonna get you eventually. Just you wait. But yeah, I mean, it did confirm what a lot of my friends and classmates said about her, which is kind of scary. But I don't know. I don't want to 100% believe it. Like, there's definitely a couple things in there that were probably just over exaggerated, for sure. Which is why I wouldn't want to put all my money into it that it's true. But anyways, so there's that. really about it. As a matter of fact, like when I saw that page, I did notice that like a lot of the stuff that was posted at the same time as my senior year. Ugh, I ran out of my crap. Shit. So it's just like, dang man, what did I miss out on? And I remember I shared it with one of my friends at the time that I was following, and I showed it to them, and they're just like, yeah man, you didn't hear, she's a predator, she's a scary person, she likes to poach minors and whatnot. I was just like, wow, okay, I didn't know that. Then again, it's just like, it's high school, whatever, man. Some of this stuff is definitely over exaggerated. Anyway, so that was the end of it in terms of like drama and people hating her and whatnot. I did end up seeing Jessica a couple times during my time in community college. I remember she worked at one of the local grocery stores that was like near my neighborhood, or the closest to my neighborhood, I guess. I'm gonna try to park somewhere. Hopefully I can park somewhere close. Hopefully, please. Nope. Of course, everyone wants to park close by. Whatever, it's alright. I don't mind driving a couple steps. But yeah, I remember seeing her, and when I did see her, I remember seeing that she had like a sort of a different hairstyle. It was more of a masculine hairstyle. Not like short hair, but like rather like, instead of a ponytail, it was a bun, and it looked like it looked like an Edgar with like a bun on top, from what I remember. I don't know how to describe it, but that's what it looked like. And she was still that they-them person who also apparently had their own controversy, I guess. But yeah, overall, I mean, that's about it. Just looking back, I mean, I guess you can't put 100% of the blame on the kids, because, you know, on one hand you could probably argue that, well, it kind of is Jessica's fault. I mean, of course, because if you think about it, it's common knowledge that you need to, you know, have good hygiene and, you know, stay clean, take care of yourself. Stuff that Jessica didn't seem to care about. And you know what? I'm gonna park somewhere else where people don't. But you know, but maybe the whole like the Jessica touch thing, and just people just being mean to her and whatnot, probably wasn't really that was probably where, yeah, that wasn't very nice. But you know what? Wherever she is now, whatever she's doing, hopefully things turn out for the better. I gotta get going. My first class starts at 8, so yeah, I got a couple minutes. So yeah, see ya.